guys, so today we are baking. Yay! I'm super excited because I haven't baked a while. I've been cooking a lot more, and recently I've asked you guys to vote on my IG stories if you want me to share dessert recipe or main course recipe. And about 53% of you guys voted for main course and the rest voted for dessert. Now I shared the main course recipe, which is spicy beef with asparagus. Super yummy, by the way. If you guys haven't tried it, make sure you do. So today's dessert time. Now the dessert that I'm making today is a classic. I absolutely love it. I think it's super versatile. And I remember learning this from my mom. I think I was 7 or 8 years old, and when she told me we're making this with stale bread, I went like, ew, what is it? That sounds weird. But after trying it, I fell absolutely in love with it. And of course, the dessert that I'm talking about is bread pudding. I love it so much. As I mentioned, it's super versatile. Like, I normally make mine with different sorts of bread. I love it with croissant the most, and I add all sorts of fillings to just sort of glam it up, you know. My favorites would be with apple filling. I love it with kaya and coconut. I love it also with chocolate spread and peanut butter and bananas. I love it with jam. You know, you just spread the jam on the bread and then soak everything in your in the liquid ingredients. I'm salivating talking about it. But today's recipe it's a basic one. And I remember the one that my mom made for me the first time was with raisins. But I don't have any raisins at home, but I do have a lot of chocolate chips, so I will be adding some chocolate chips today. Now it's super easy. Over here I've got about 400 grams of bread, and I'm using, oopsie daisy. So over here I've got about 400 grams of bread. I'm using white bread. You can use whatever bread you like. You can use brioche, you can use anything really. It's completely up to you. But I've got extra white bread that's been sitting in the fridge for a good 2 weeks now. It's still good, okay, it's not moldy, but it is a bit stale, so it's a bit dry because it's been in the fridge for about 2 weeks. So I've sliced them up into squares like this. So you know, when I went to culinary school, one of the basic history class that we had to take, we had to make bread pudding, and I remember making it. And you know how they tell you, like, oh, bread and butter pudding, so you have to spread the butter on the bread, you know, layer by layer, and then make the liquid and pour the liquid in and let the bread soak up all the delicious liquid, milk and sugar and everything. Well, we're not gonna do that because that's a bit complicated. We're gonna make it super easy and quick. So I've got 400 grams of bread just now, I mentioned. I've got 4 eggs with me here. I've got about 500 ml of fresh milk here. I've got about 150 ml of cream. Now, the reason why I'm using cream is because I don't like runny mixture, because it's gonna take a longer time for it to cook. So by adding cream, it is going to make it thicker. The mixture is going to be thicker. It's going to be creamier and richer, and I love it. So the cream, and we've got our butter. So I mentioned just now, we're not going to be spreading the butter on the bread because I think it's time consuming, and you know, when I cook or when I bake, I like to, you know, make everything very quick and easy. So instead I am using melted butter. So over here I've got about 120 grams of butter that I've melted and sort of cooled slightly, like room temperature. So it's still liquid. Just gonna try and show you guys. Yeah, so it's still liquid, but it's not hot anymore, because if it's hot, it's gonna cook your eggs slightly, and you don't really want that. I've got some ground cinnamon that I'll be using, some vanilla, cornstarch. Now cornstarch is also to sort of firm up the custard mixture, basically, so that you don't end up with, like, you know, wet bread pudding. I don't like that. And of course I've got some sugar, brown sugar, and some salt, because I am using unsalted butter. But if you're using salted butter, you don't have to use the salt. Now it's super easy. First, I'm just gonna crack my eggs into this bowl here. So now I'm gonna add some sugar. So I'm using about 7 tablespoons of sugar. We're gonna add some cinnamon. About a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of vanilla. So I'm using vanilla paste. Be careful when you're buying the paste, because some of them contains alcohol. This one is the halal version of the vanilla paste. You can find it at most baking shops now. Of course, a little bit of salt, just a pinch. And we are going to whisk all of this first. Now I'm gonna add my cream. And my milk. I'm also gonna add my cornstarch. I'm using about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. You don't want too much of it, because you don't want it to harden. You just kind of want it to set. So 2 tablespoons of it. Just mix it up. And once you don't see the clumps anymore, we're gonna add the melted butter. Now, I'm using melted butter so the bread can absorb all the delicious buttery taste. Alright, now that we've mixed everything well, now it's time for us to add the bread into our liquid mixture. So you just want to leave this for about 15 to 20 minutes, or until the bread has soaked everything up completely. Just gonna mix it up. Make sure all of the bread get some of the liquid. So basically, what you're looking for is for the bread to be really soggy, and for you, like, you don't want to see any more liquid at the bottom or at the side of this bowl. So you just want the bread, all of the bread pieces to soak up our liquid mixture completely. So every 5 minutes you kind of want to stir it so that all of the pieces would get the liquid. So I'm going to cover this with a plastic wrap. I'm going to use this paste, and while waiting for the bread to soak up all the liquid, we are going to make our custard, because after this is done, we're going to pop it in the oven, and you know, we want the custard to be nice and cold when it's ready to be eaten. So I've also preheated my oven at 180 degrees Celsius, and here I've got my casserole dish that I have spread some butter, some softened butter all over. And yes, so once this is done, we're gonna add our chocolate chip and we're gonna pop it in here and we're gonna bake it. But now we're gonna make our custard sauce first. Okay guys, so now I'm making the custard sauce. So it's really easy to make custard sauce. I know that there's like custard powder available outside, but I love making my custard sauce from scratch. So, you know, adding real vanilla and cornstarch, that's basically what it is. And coloring, but I'm not gonna add any coloring because I'm using egg yolk. So I've got my milk here. I'm just gonna add everything in. Some cream as well. So this is going to give us a really beautiful consistency of our custard sauce. I am adding my egg yolk, 1 egg yolk. And I am going to add some cornstarch. I'm using about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. A little bit of vanilla paste. I'm just gonna eyeball this. Not too much because I am also adding my honey that's been infused with vanilla. And I'm using about 4 tablespoons of sugar. Touch of salt. I always add a little bit of salt in anything that's sweet because I feel like that would give it a nice balance. Now my honey. Oh, so good. This is honey that's been infused with vanilla. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna eyeball this as well. So roughly about 3 tablespoons. You can always cut down the sugar if you don't like it too sweet. Or you don't have to add the honey, or you can just add honey. You can use regular honey and just add a little bit more vanilla. So now I'm just gonna give this a good mix until everything is nice and there are no more clumps. And then only we put it on the heat. So this is done. I'm just gonna pop it on the stove and gently whisk it until it's nice and thick and silky. And I just want to show you guys this one really quickly. You can see the bread's all soggy and it's absorbed most of the liquid. So we want that. So this is going to be ready in about 10 more minutes, and then we're gonna pop it in the oven. Okay, so now I'm just gonna bring my custard to a boil on medium to high heat and stirring constantly. So this is gonna take about 10 minutes. Okay, so now it's starting to bubble. So it's boiling. I'm just gonna turn the heat down slightly. Not gonna switch it off, just gonna turn the heat down. I'm just gonna keep on stirring until it thickens slightly. So the consistency that you're looking for is like sauce-like. You want it to be able to coat the back of your spoon. You don't want it to be too thick because once it has cooled down, it's going to thicken it even more. So this is beautiful. This is what you're looking for. So this is what I mean. You want it to coat the back of your spoon. Delicious. Gently. There you go. Beautiful. Ooh. I love vanilla custard sauce. It's My favorite. Simple, easy, delicious. Alright, so now I'm gonna cover it with my cling wrap. I'm gonna show it to you because when I cool it in the fridge, the skin is gonna form on top, and I don't want that. So the trick is to just put your cling wrap over your custard. Same method applies for your pastry cream. So just rest it on top of your custard. Gonna let it cool slightly outside here and then keep it in the fridge after about 10 minutes. And we're gonna get back to our bread pudding. Okay, so now I am ready to bake my bread pudding. So I just want to show you guys what it looks like now. So I told you, like, mix it every 3 minutes, just sort of stir it using a rubber spatula. What I also did was sort of like mash the bread up. And the reason being, I know like sometimes you go out to a restaurant, you get to see like the bread pudding with the squares, like square cut shaped bread on top. But I like it when it's like all mushy like this and you bake it and it has a very nice cake-like texture to it because the bread's all, you know, mashed up. So that's what I normally do, and because I don't waste anything, I also use the top and end of the bread and all the crust. So when you do this, you're gonna get like a really nice even texture. So you can see the bread's all nice and mashed up and it's absorbed all of the liquid. So now we're gonna add our chocolate chip. So if you are making it with different types of filling, like I mentioned just now, apple filling, you can put your kaya, your chocolate spread, your banana, your jam. What I would like to do is just scoop some into my casserole dish and then put the topping. Layer it if you like. You can swirl it around if you like. You know, don't stress. This is not what do you call that, like super strict. You know, you can be creative and just do whatever you are comfortable with. That is the most important thing. Anyway, so now I'm gonna add in my chocolate chip. I love chocolate chips. Ooh, pop that in my mouth. And we're gonna stir it so, you know, it will spread evenly. Delicious. You can also add some nuts. You can add almond flakes. That would be really nice too. But today I'm just gonna keep it with the chocolate chip. So that's done. I'm gonna scoop it into my casserole dish. Smells so good. So this is gonna bake in the oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 40 to 45 minutes. Oh, I cannot wait to have this. It smells so good. See, when you use this technique, it's so much easier for you to, you know, put it in your casserole dish or your cake pan or you know, anything that you're using to bake it. Instead of having to layer it one by one, I find that this is a better method. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. Okay, done. I'm not even gonna put any butter on top because, you know, remember I used about 120 grams of butter that's been melted, so the breads absorb the butter completely. So this pudding is going to be super buttery. So I'm going to pop it in the oven for about 40 minutes, 180 degrees Celsius, and once it's done, I'm going to take it out and have it together with our custard sauce just now. Excited. In you go. Oh, smells so yum. it's ready, and I left it out to cool for about 15 minutes. And you can see it's leveled. I love it so much. It looks absolutely amazing. You can see all the beautiful brown bits on the side, and it's nice golden in color everywhere else. Even the sides, it looks so good. It smells even better. So now I'm gonna serve it. I'm just gonna use my serving spoon and just dip it. Oh, look at the chocolate. Chocolate's melted. Oh, yes, look at that. Oh. Look how pretty that is. See, this is what I'm talking about. It's super moist on the inside, but it's not like runny. It's cooked perfectly. And now I am going to pour some of the sauce that we made earlier just now. Yeah, alright. The custard sauce. And we're just gonna pour it all over. Beautiful. Alright. And we're done. Alright guys, so my bread pudding is ready. Look at that. Oof. Cannot wait to try it. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you try this recipe, and when you do, share your pictures and videos with me. I almost dropped my bread pudding. Jemput makan guys. Nah, have some now.